Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and today is December 6th, 2019, and this is our weekly video. Take a look at how things went on eBay last week, what's been going on in other areas over at Catawiki, what's coming up next week, and all that good stuff. And yes, we're still working on the site, and it's about done. We hit one snag this week, and we're waiting for some issues to get resolved, but that's coming along beautifully, and we'll have something on it probably the middle of next week, and we're going to get this thing off the ground finally. All right, now let's take a look and see what happened last week. One of the things we did do this week, you might notice we changed the background on the site. I got tired of just a solid color, so we added a little landscape there. It's actually a lake in China somewhere. There was a photograph I came across. It's rather nice. At any rate, here we are. This was last week's newsletter. There was some good things on there. There was an interesting video. I hope you took the time to watch it. The Degenfelder lecture on from 2017 at the Cleveland Museum. It was a very good thing on how to look at Chinese paintings. It was a little long, but it was worth watching and maybe watching a couple times. All right. And of course, our regular weekly video it was on the newsletter page as well. If you don't get the newsletter page yet, sign up for it. It is free and goes out every Friday and lets you know what's on eBay and what's selling. And we'll come back later and we go over what they sold for and why and try to make sense of it. It's not always easy, and that's that. So anyway, this was something that was on eBay last week. Yes, it is ivory. It's an ivory brush pot, and it's a rather nice one, Cantonese style. Probably done in the first half of the 19th century, but very fine quality, really good quality work on it. It had a little tiny break off the part of the base, which wasn't unusual. It could have been an later 18th century pot as well. It had nice script on it. Here's a picture, a view of the top of it. Here's the bottom of it, pretty typical. There was some script there. There was a tiny missing section broken out here, but that's not at all unusual on these. This was a nice little pot. And I think it went very reasonably, $285. It may not have gotten a lot of bidding from outside of France because of concerns about international shipping on ivory, I suspect. So it held the price down. But in the past, when the big auction houses handled these kinds of things, or even mid-range ones, these pots typically sell for $700 to $1,000. This one went for just $285. Because of the fear of people, I think, regarding ivory. There's a bit of ivory on eBay right now anyway. There's some jars and some figurines. Those will be in the newsletter if you want to take a shot at them. We usually see card cases are much more common, but there they are. And then there was this, a pair of Nyonyna straits, these export vases. These were 20th century examples. They were quite nicely done, good color and so forth. And they did very well. They brought $1,973. Which I was a little surprised at. I thought that was an awfully strong price. These were later vases, but they were very good. And off they went. They had rubber seal mark stamps on the bottom during the, here they are. Those marks done this way, those are done with rubber stamps, and they are not the old marks, we'll put it that way. So they went for $1,973. All right, and then on to this big vase. I loved this. I thought this was very nice. I had a couple of inquiries about it actually during the time that it was on eBay. This was a big vase. I think it was 20-something inches tall. I'm going to get the height right here. 62 centimeters tall, so about 24 inches tall. Big vase, and somebody had asked me what I thought it would bring. I thought $200 to $2,500, somewhere in there, would be a very reasonable price, and it ended up selling for $2,167. So it's pretty close. And this was a pretty vase, had unusual decoration. The dragon on it was quite good. I loved the way it was very robustly drawn, and the flowers were very robustly drawn. You notice they're very big scale, quite attractive. This is a later 19th century vase. He had it up as Daquan period. I don't think it was. I think it was probably mid to late 19th century. It doesn't matter. It was a very pretty vase, a quality piece of porcelain, and I think it was a good buy, no matter what. All right, and on to this, the Armorial export dish, an 18th century dish, platter rather, dating to probably the 1770s or so, judging by the border arrangement and so forth. And the back of the plate, which is flat and unglazed, pretty typical of export platters. These and Nanking examples are often flat and unglazed, and they're not always this color. Sometimes they're this color, sometimes they're browner, sometimes they're whiter. There's a lot of variation in export platters is what the paste will look like on the back during the latter part of the 18th century. Here's a good detail of it. Notice the enamels were all in really nice condition. The gilding of the coronet were perfectly intact. And what I found interesting was it went for $550, which wasn't a very, very strong price. This was, it was a 15-inch platter. All right, that was a good-sized plate, armorial, in top quality and in good condition. The seller said it had a slight roughness to the rim, which means probably a little bit of fritting. All right, and then on to this. This was a Chamberlain Antiques. The seller name is Juice 1499. He had this very attractive pear-shaped Ming Dynasty vase with these sort of exaggerated elephant tusk handles on the side. Very interesting the way they were done, but it had a nice patina. The only thing wrong with this was that it had the bottom plate, the base plate was missing. And for some reason, base plates on Ming bronzes got knocked out a lot. I don't know why, unless somebody took it out maybe at one point to make a lamp out of this, but there's the mouth rim to it. This is what these old vases look like inside. All right, if they're really, really smooth and beautifully finished, you can pretty safely assume they're Qing or late Qing or even Republic. But this one was an old one, had a very nice patina on it, and despite missing the bottom plate, it still brought $1,325, which is not a bad price. And then on to this, another early Ming vase, pear-shaped vase with a big base on it and mask handles and rings. This one was even a better buy. This was a great buy. This was a nice bronze. And we included it as a featured item because I just think it was a very attractive example, a nice thing. And it went for a modest price, $582. All right, and this was from a seller in the UK over in Hertfordshire. Had this good-looking thing. He doesn't have a lot of stuff on eBay. The seller's name is Six Sheep, and he comes and goes. And when he does, though, he's got nice things. And this was a good bronze, and I think somebody got a wonderful buy. Really do. That was a good purchase. And then on to this, the Kangxi plate with the light blue center pattern decoration. This plate wasn't perfect. It had a hairline in the rim, but it's a very desirable pattern, and this is very fine quality enameling all around. It's just beautifully done. And sometimes it's a good thing to buy if you can't, if you're not in the market right now, you don't want to spend $400 or $500 for a perfect one. This one went very reasonably for $119. That was a good buy. $119 for a very desirable pattern Kangxi dish, and these display beautifully. This was about an 8 or 9 inch dish. All right, and now on to this. This was that side plate that Qing period had up, and I remember when this plate came up, the previous week there was a almost identically patterned plate by another seller that was smaller. It was under around 10 or so inches in diameter, as I recall, and it brought around $1,000. And at the time, I speculated, well, maybe this will bring another $500 or $600 over it. Well, I blew it. I didn't get this one right. Went for $4,282. Now, in fairness, I don't think it was a really crazy price. It was a strong, very strong price. But this was a very attractive piece of porcelain too, and it was big. And maybe some folks did some digging to see how many charges of these have turned up over the years. It was 14 inches in diameter, and maybe there just weren't many, or maybe there were a few, and that's what they brought. So, having other examples to compare to will sometimes drive buyers rather up to levels they might not get to otherwise. But regardless, that's what it brought, $4,282. And then over to this. This was another item that Chamberlain had up. It was a very nice mid-20th century, late Republic, early PROC period eggshell vase with iron red gilding and very fine detail and border work. This was a nice little pot. Beautiful quality, very fine quality, and had, as I recall, a chin lung mark on the bottom. This was not an enormous vase. It went for $965, and it was only 7 inches tall. I don't think it was an overpayment. I think it was right about on the money. All right, but I think it was more likely a vase from the late 40s or early 50s. And then on to this. I just included this because this was a nice little lot of 3 pieces, Sung Tian Dynasty Celadons, sort of provincial, but there's a nice little loop-handled container in the middle. This rather attractive lotus decorated cup, and then another little cup over here that is sort of a lotus or swirled sort of swirly leaf decoration going around the outside. Very provincial, all 3, but nice examples and legitimate old pieces. And all 3 went for just $160. Not bad at all. And on to this, the pair of Langyao copper red porcelain vases. These are late Qing, early Republic period pots, judging by the shape and style. They were very nicely done, though. And the bottoms of them look exactly like they should. This was interesting because they can look the way the one on the left does, and they can look the way the one on the right does. They were not an exact pair. They were probably made at around the same time. But the bases on these did vary quite a bit on how they were finished and worked on. If the glaze ran over the edge a bit, you'll find spots where they polished the glaze back. They cut the glaze back a bit. Here you can see where they've polished it. It's polished through the glaze to get the bits off, so the thing will stand up. And the pair ended up selling for $3,150. All right, that was a very strong price, but fully covered copper red vases often do well, as long as they're late Qing or early Republic or older. All right, and now on to this, the Celadon Famille Rose Export teapot. This was just a nice little teapot. I don't think the saucer under it really went with it. I think it was just maybe from the same service. Here's a picture of it, and I think they just added it onto it. Here's a mark that the potter used on the lid. You see those black marks sometimes. And it went for a perfectly fair price, $310 for both pieces, the plate and the teapot. Not bad. And then on to this, that very large 48 centimeter, which is about 17 inches wide, Rose Medallion bowl. This was a big one, nice big basin. I like this. Very attractive and very good quality, probably made in the first half of the 19th century. And I went for $1,113. All right, this was also from Qing period, but what it had going for it was the enamels were all in beautiful condition, because a lot of these big basins had guglets or water pitchers that went inside of them, and the foot rims on those tended to scratch and wear down the decoration in the center of the plate, in the center of the bowl, like you see here, and you don't see any wear. So it means that it probably had a ewer or a water pitcher that came with it, something that sat in it, and it just never got used. It's got this widened, everted rim, which is different than a punch bowl, typical punch bowl, which tends to go up a little bit more and be a little bit straighter. At any rate, it was a nice buy for whoever got it. And then Qing also had this big beaker, Kangxi period Beaker Flask. This was a nice one because it was a little bit unusual in size. It probably came from a garniture set. It was around 11 inches tall. And it did very well. It brought $1,820, but it was in very good condition. Condition on these pieces is very critical. And then he also had this purple baluster vase, late Qing, but nice quality, really nice quality. And it was pretty good size. It ended up selling, it was a foot tall, and it sold for $3,900 with 50 bids. All right. And Qing also had this a Republic period, mid-late Republic period Famille Rose vase. Nice form, very creamy white glaze, but the shape of this vase was very attractive, and the figural landscape on it was perfectly applied to it. The perfect decoration for this type of vase. Very attractive, and the vase could be rotated, and you could see it in the round. Very nice. And this 8-inch or 8 or 9-inch. Iron red and gilt decorated Kangxi dish with the figures riding in the cart being pulled by spotted horses, and a child running along behind holding an umbrella, keeping the elderly lady here out of the sun. And here's her attendant, very attractive. And the plate went for $1,025. And now on to this. I always like these. I like these little Celadon brush washers. This was a good one, late 18th century example. Here's a picture of it from the side. Nice looking, legitimate smoothing from use. good glaze, the nice tan-colored crackle to it. Here's another shot of it. There's another image of it. Thick rim, nice interior. And it did okay, but it didn't bring a lot. We've seen these bring more in the past, so I think this sort of falls into it was a good buy category. $338. Had no damage that the seller mentioned, and this is black tortoise, and they tend to be pretty good on outlining any problems. So that was a nice thing. And then on to this, the Kangxi Bowl. This is from the Ceramics and Collectibles over in the Netherlands. They also sell under the name of Shangri-La Antiques. They have nice things. They've got, I think, over 2,000 things on eBay right now. They always have good things. We generally always have them in the newsletter. And it's a good-looking bowl. And it ended up bringing, it had some rim fitting and small chips and nicks, typical of these. Had a chunhua mark on the bottom, and it sold for $816. Not a bad price. And Chamberlain Antiques had this. This was a very nice slab-constructed Meiji period Satsuma, very elegantly decorated vase. It had the sort of simplified mark on the bottom. Here it is against this very black or dark blue background with all this gilding. Really attractive. And it did fine. It brought $1,625. He had quite a few things. They did just fine. But this I thought was a particularly nice piece of Satsuma. All right. And then over here to this. This was the elephant vase that we talked about last week. These beautiful swags running around it. Very attractive piece. And we thought it would do pretty well, and it did. It brought $2,994. Probably done in the Kangxi period, as the seller said there. Nice looking example. All right. Not all the things that sold, but there's some good things coming up this week, and I hope you stick around for this because there's some nice things coming up, and we're not done looking yet. All right. One of them is this Japanese 19th century gold-worked dagger, signed. It's got some good signatures on it. Fujiwara Neokatsu. And there's about $1,000 worth of gold in this, by the way. It's got a minimum opening bid of $500. It hasn't gotten any bids yet. It's got 6 days to go. You want to look at this. If you buy Japanese, fine Japanese metalwork, check out this one. Look up this guy. His full daggers in sheaths for this kind of thing can bring $10,000, $15,000 if you have the scabbard. But I think the metalwork on this is just excellent all the way around. It is fully signed, and it'll be in the newsletter this week. So check that out. It's a good thing. And also this late Ming bronze. This is a little bit rough. It looks like it's been left in a rusty, some sort of a rusty closet. It looks like the seller tried to clean this off so you can see the mark a little better. It's okay. And here's a side of it. Lots of natural looking, good old fashioned rot on it. I like that. It's got a day to go. It closes on Sunday. So it's up to about $50. It should do much better than that. This was a nice thing. Some people might not think it's real. I think it's a real one. It looks okay to me. All right, and then on to this. This was a nice looking bottle vase. It was it appears to be a Kangxi example. It has been cut down at the top. This would have had a flared rim. It would have been another 1.5 inches taller with a flared rim. But if you want a really nice looking table lamp for your house, made from a Kangxi porcelain, boy, this is the piece to get. This is a beautifully glazed piece, and underneath, I haven't seen the bottom, but I can pretty much assure you that it's going to be partially glazed, but mostly unglazed with a hard white porcelain. If they're made from pottery, as many of you know, they tend to be typically a waji ware, but they're lighter. They don't have that sort of glaze. The crackle is different, and so forth. And the shape on this is quite nice. And it was probably made, I think, probably around 1700 or a little after. Good-looking vase, though. And this big Wanli plate. This is a charger. I think this is 14 or so inches tall. This will be in the newsletter this week. It's a good example. Arthur Potts picked this up. How big is it? I want to make sure I quote it right. 36 centimeters. Yeah, so it's about 14 inches in diameter. All right. It's only up to $12, so give it a whack. All right. I gave it a whack just to get it started. All right. Now on to this. The late transitional, early Kangxi Basin. This is a nice pot. I like this. I love these this period and this style of decoration. Here it is. It's nice looking wukai decoration. Here's the bottom of it. Very typical. Nothing to worry about there. That's what it should look like. It's got 11 bids. It's up to $800. It closes on Saturday. It closes tomorrow. So if you're watching this today, Friday, and you like Kangxi things, this is a pretty good one. He has it as late Ming, early Qing, which is sort of right, but it's transitional to early Kangxi period. I don't think it's really Ming, but at any rate, it's a nice pot, good-looking pot. And this is an interesting little seated turquoise and biscuit figure of a Kuan Yin. It's on a nice little silk-fitted stand. It does have a Qin Lung mark on the bottom. Here's the picture of the base. I don't think it's Qin Lung. I think it's probably late Qing, early Republic, but a nice-looking package and very good quality. Very good quality on this. The facial details are very good. The hair is beautifully done. The robes are nicely done. Notice all of the pooling in the turquoise and the glaze. Lots of pooling, which I think is a great way to highlight these. And it has this nifty little box that it came in, a fitted stand. I suspect the fitted stand and the box were done later when it was bought and shipped out. It's up to $135. It's got 5 days to go and closes on Wednesday. And then this little gi-form desk pen holder and washer holder. This is a nice-looking one, late Qing. Here's a picture of the bottom. Here's a picture of the thing. There's another picture of the glaze, picture of the side, and so forth. This is a good one. It looks to be a real one to me. It's up to just $34. It closes on Sunday. If you like scholars objects and crackleware and things like that, you might want to check this out. It should bring $300 to $500, $400 or so, somewhere in there. It's a good pot. And then this unfortunately, this is missing its cover, but this is a watch keep or pocket watch keep, and you would put it in here and you'd display it in here when you weren't carrying your watch around. It would have a little dome on it. The cover is missing, but this is probably a Young Chen to early Qin Lung example. Nice quality all the way around. I don't see a lot of breaks on here. You'll see the same sort of work, by the way, on Young Chen teapots often. It was a popular thing, and they would use this relief work on the under trays, cups and saucers, and on teapots. And in this one, they incorporated it very nicely into a watch keep for export. Nice looking thing. And this closes on Monday. It's up to just $32. So if you like something like this, you want to check this out because it's a sort of a rare form. All right, and then over to Catawiki. This is on Catawiki. I meant to point out that the bronze, this bronze that sold last week, this was also on Catawiki. I should have mentioned that. And this is a Wan Li period pear-shaped bottle vase with galloping horses on the outside of it. It just went up. This just went up. It's got 8 days, 20 hours, almost 9 days to go. It's only got, I think, one bid of $3. So check that out if you like Wan Li bottle vases. And then you have this. I love these things. These are these giant Salato chargers. This one is 47 centimeters in diameter. So it's about 20 inches wide. These always tend to be on the sort of the big side. We had one in here one time a few years ago from the Crosby Forbes collection. I think that was about 46 inches in diameter. It was ridiculous. It looked like a child's small bathtub. But this is almost identical to this one. Nice pattern on it. I love the sort of crisscross checkerboard pattern running around the outside. Good looking thing. Let's see, here's another shot of it. There's some detail. You can see they used a very dark blue, almost like black, to outline and then colored it in. Very typical of these Swato pieces. Try to get around to the back. There it is. The backs of these always look grungy and messy, and they were hardly ever cleaned up very well. That's just how they made them. But this one's up to $294. It closes on Sunday. So if you're a late Ming buyer, you want to check that out. Nice big Swato charger to hang on a wall. Ought to triple that price by the time it's over. And then, or more. And then on to this, the Kangxi open salt, high salt. It's a good looking one. I don't see these very often. You sometimes see very similar ones in silver forms. These were typically made in pairs. This is a single. It's got a day in change to go. It closes on Saturday. It's only up to $75. So if you're a Kangxi open salt collector, you want to check that out, that's for sure. And this was something I wanted to mention. There's a seller on here right now, and we're going to have them in here. It has a bunch of very nice pen and ink watercolors drawings up that are all framed in these sort of oddball frames. I'm not sure I like the frames, but I love the paintings. And very good detail, late Qing Dynasty work to me. Here it is, signed, beautiful quality. They could have been done as late as 1920, nonetheless, because they were still doing this kind of work. But these are good. There's 4 of them, and they're only up to about $50, which looks like a steal to me. Okay, and I'm going to check those out. And the same seller has this very nice little pen and ink drawing of a woman with script and a seal that's been framed. It's a very nice example. This is up to about $60, $55. So that hasn't gone anywhere yet. And then lastly, this. This is a nice Kangxi period guglet. He just has it listed as 18th century. It's actually a Kangxi example with this beautiful iron red on it, nice slender mouth, well-shaped. And he mentions in here that there's a repair, and I looked at it pretty carefully. The repair is very minimal. There was a pair of these vases that came up, you might recall, a few weeks ago. One of them was pretty banged up, and one of them was perfect. And I think the banged up one still brought upwards of $600 or $800 or something. This is a minor repair. The repair is this tiny little spot right here. All right, from what I can see, that's it. He says there's a restoration to the mouth. Well, usually when they say restoration of the mouth, it means the whole thing has been rebuilt. This is it. It's a very small wedge-shaped chip, probably about the size of the fingernail on your baby finger. All right, and that could be easily restored for almost nothing by any decent restorer, and that's it. And this is a good-looking pot, and right now it's up to only $249. It should go for $1,200 to $1,400, something like that. These are typically around 9 or so inches tall. How tall is this one? 9.6 inches. There you go. That's about the regular. They're sort of almost a standard size, 9 to 11 inches, somewhere in there. Occasionally a little bigger, but not often. All right. And that's about it for the week. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you like the videos, please do give us a thumbs up. And subscribe to us here on YouTube. Come over to Bidamount.com and get yourself into the site over there. We've got auction catalogs, things you can look at. There's almost 500 auction catalogs on there now, and books. And the forum, of course, and we've got the weekly newsletter, and we're going to have the members area setting up very, very soon. We hit one snag this week that set us back a couple days, but anyway. And thanks a lot of you for your kind words on my cold and mild case of pneumonia. It is much better. It's still a little bit scratchy, but it was wicked. Everybody in the family got it. And that's it. Okay. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. And when things change, when we get everything squared away, we'll send out an email notification to those of you that are subscribers to the newsletter to let you know that the other pages have been all set up and are finished. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.